Misra. She's from Odisha. Uh, okay, so
We are live now.
Bhaumik.
More.
Acha,
Yeah, we are
okay,
live
all
now.
right, okay.
I
A
am
very good
unable to.
afternoon to everybody. So we are here for the second day of our international webinar organized by the Department of Education, Derozio Memorial College, in collaboration with the Internal Quality Assurance Cell, that is IQAC of Derozio Memorial College. And the webinar is on a very pertinent topic, particularly pertinent in this socio-political and socio-cultural context, and that is online education in new normal, coping with mental hazards. So that is the topic of our international webinar, and we are here today for day 2 of the webinar, and we are absolutely delighted to have amongst us Honorable Vice Chancellor Sir of West Bengal State University, Professor Bashok Choudhury. It is really kind of him that he could manage some time for us despite his extremely busy schedule. He was supposed to be here yesterday for the inaugural session, but since he was tied up, absolutely tied up for certain, administrative work and assignments, so he could not make it yesterday. So he had been really kind to be present here today, and we would begin the session with his keynote address. So, may I request our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Sir, Honorable Vice Chancellor, West Bengal State University, Professor Bashok Choudhury, to deliver the keynote address.
Good afternoon to all of you. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. First of all, my regards and my best wishes to all of you of the Derozio Memorial College for inviting me to this webinar. The respected principal, respected teachers, Dr. Bhubaneswar said something very eloquently about me. The college and the university, the colleges and the university, we in our university work together uh, in all matters of teaching and learning, and we have developed over the years a very healthy relationship between the university and the colleges. I find that Dr. Shanta Misra from Odisha is also joining us. She is one of the speakers, and indeed, it is a great privilege for all of us to hear experts on these webinars organized by the different colleges of the West Bengal State University. Derozio Memorial College is sort of, making records one after the other in organizing the webinars. They are organizing FDP, they are organizing different subject webinars, they are organizing different webinars having very important issues of today. Today's webinar also is on the pandemic that is going on and the new teaching learning system, online system, and the mental aspects. What is going on. So neither I am from the psychology department that I will be able to talk on mental issues, nor I am from online education. I am from the education department. I am a hardcore administrator for the last 12 years, 12, yeah, more than 12 years, and hardcore administrator. And most of the time, I am busy doing administration. But I am really thankful to the colleges for giving me the opportunity or for making space for me so that I can be heard, I can deliver my lecture, and I can voice my concerns and my thoughts and my aspirations. My aspiration about Derozio Memorial College is today is this, that 10 years from now, Derozio Memorial College uh, will be one of the autonomous colleges, or maybe Derozio Memorial College will no longer remain a college; it will be a university. This is my thought. 10 years from now, Derozio Memorial College, under the guidance of Dr. Dibyendu Tolapatru, is indeed doing great job. Derozio Memorial College is one of the colleges, very few colleges in West Bengal having the vocational stream and the vocational stream approved by the University Grants Commission. The college is having teachers who are extremely committed and extremely competent and impressive. You just saw Dr. Mahuya, Bhaumik, Dr. Obik Roy, and all others. They're incomparable in different aspects. Incomparable so far as you know uh, so far as uh, the uh, the commitment towards the college is concerned, so far as the delivery of service to the college is concerned, and being with the principal in various matters is concerned. So they are indeed very committed people, and a college is not just building, or a college is not just a classroom or something like that. A college is basically the human wealth and human power that you have, the ability to teach and learn and to engage and to to create what is known as a very lively atmosphere. That is what a college is. And under Dr. Dibendu Tolapatro, otherwise a very kind man, a very quiet man, but with a lot of resolve to really contribute to the higher education in West Bengal. So I see in Dr. Dibendu Tolabhatru, who is also a member of our executive council, that resolve to take the college forward, to take the university forward. The university vice chancellor should not take university in isolation. The college principals should not take the college in isolation. If we grow together. That is important. That is the message perhaps I will give you in this webinar, where this online platform has been so very effective. Look, we have digital divide. Yes, we accept that. Even the central government data says that 24% people are having this digital connectivity, and people say that a large number of villages are still without connectivity. It is known. It is necessary to go for this kind of connectivity issue, to address to the connectivity issue, and to really think how we can improve the connectivity and how we can bring a large number of people into the connectivity net. That is what is important. Today, when the last 6 months we have been in this confinement, other than this online system, what else do we have? I always say the classroom teaching is the best form of teaching, where you can see students face to face. You can discuss with them, you can deliberate, you can see their reactions, you can understand how they're reacting to your questions, how they're putting their minds into their studies, how they're engaging themselves in teaching and learning process. These are very important, and you can see them, you can talk to them. If there is any problem, you can solve those problems. If there are issues where a student is not listening to you, you are showing your administrative skill to really say that he or she is not doing correct thing. So these are some of the things that you can do, and classroom teaching is the best form of teaching. But when the classroom is not accessible, what will you do? Under those circumstances, the only system that is available to us is this online system. And this online system was something like, something like untapped potential, that the colleges are doing these webinars and engaging a large number of people through these webinars. This was an untapped potential. I remember I have been to Derozio Memorial College many times, in the seminars, in that particular seminar hall, I think in the first floor or second floor, and the principal used to take me there, and Dr. Bhaumik and all others, Dr. Anjana Chatterjee and all others, Dr. Shourab Mondol, they used to be in those seminars, and there used to be engagement. Fine. See, because this pandemic does not allow us to organize that kind of seminar, today we are organizing this kind of webinar, and where we are coming on virtual platform and we are meeting. So online system is the system, not the best one even today in our country. Classroom is the best. And I still feel, being a teacher, classroom gives you a kind of, it is like a football match where you really want to see the football, rolling over the ground, rolling over the green ground. That is what the fun is, and people will say, you just go ahead with the ball and just put it into the net. That is what it is. But when football cannot be played on the ground because of problem restrictions, what is the point in you know doing some indoor games? And that is what we are doing with the indoor games. This is what a indoor game is, that we are doing the teaching learning process through this untapped potential called the online education. Now here comes a question, that how mental problems can be associated with this pandemic. See, then now I can see clearly there are mental problems. Some people who are having this connectivity and some people who do not have this connectivity. Those who are having this connectivity, they can easily take part in this engagement. Those who are not having connectivity are having problems. So there is a difference, and because of this difference, it occurs in the mind. And some people are privileged in terms of getting education. Some people are not so privileged in not getting education. So mental problem comes, and mental problem does not only come through this. Mental problem comes when we have old people who cannot really go out and mingle with their counterparts outside. you know uh, Old people means, I'm talking about people of 80. They go to the park and sit over there, meet other old people, discuss about the generation is very important. Generation is very very important, because today, Dr. Tolapatro and I, we get along very well because we belong to the same generation. Almost the same time we were born, almost the same time we studied, almost the same time we entered our services, and we are doing the same kind of job. So this is what is known as, the same plane, same wavelength, where everything is matching. This has totally stopped, that the students cannot come out, and the students cannot mingle, the students cannot talk, students cannot discuss, students cannot make fun, students cannot be after the teachers, these teachers cannot be after the students. So this is what this pandemic has caused, and we must try to avoid students going into depression. We must always try to tell them that any difficulty, life is very 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 interesting. you know Charlie Chaplin said something very interesting: nothing is permanent in this world, not even your troubles, or not even our troubles. Nothing is permanent in this world, not even our trouble. Today we are in a troubled situation. Think about the troubled situation. So many pandemics happened. 1897 there was plague in Calcutta, and many people, and that Sister Nivedita was, there is a chronicled in history. Sister Nivedita was found in Shambajar area, or Bagbajar area, looking after the plague patients, and Dr. R.G. Kaur, Radha Govinda Kaur has written about that. So the point is, we have seen pandemic. Then Spanish flu in 1918, then First World War, Second World War. We have seen many, but this is very interesting that this particular pandemic has touched many countries, not even touched in the Second World War. So the point is, it is something like this tiny virus, coronavirus, SARS-CoV-2, and they are causing havoc, and they are causing problems, and problems are of different kind. Yesterday it has come in newspaper that even COVID-19 is affecting the brain of people, in the sense that disorientation and forgetting and many other things are happening. So it is no longer a disease located in, concentrated in the lungs. It is a disease taking away your sense of smell, sense of taste, sense of your vision, conjunctivitis, your circulation problem, your kidney problem, and your mental problem. So everything is happening. When all these things are happening and people are afraid that it may affect me, I may be sick, I may be affected by this SARS-CoV-2. So people are not going out. If you do not go out, you brood at your house. So if you go out, you are in a fear. If you do not go out, you are in a fear. If you do not go out, you are having one kind of problem. If you go out, you have another kind of problem. So it is something like, in Bengali we call it Jole kumir dangai bag. That means there is a crocodile in water and tiger on the land, right? So where will you go? So that is a situation. That is basically the situation where the mental state is getting affected. The psychic state is getting affected. We have started feeling, oh, if I die, what will happen? Who will look after my family? And who will look after my son? Who will look after my daughter? And what if? And what if? And what if? And I always say, nothing if. Nothing if. I always say, yesterday is history. Tomorrow is mystery. Yesterday is history. It has gone. It has passed. You cannot do anything with yesterday now. Whatever at this time at 3 o'clock, it is 3:19. On today is 12th, 11th of September. You cannot get back under no circumstances. It has gone into history. Tomorrow is mystery. You do not know what will happen at 3:19. Tomorrow, 13th of September. So you do not know that. Today, we call it present. Present, present. What is present? It is basically presentation. It is basically presentation, and it depends on what you are doing today. So whenever I was in United States for 2 years, and every day the Americans used to ask, "Hey, how are you doing today?" I used to be very, initially very, what do you call it, intrigued that they are calling every day, "How are you doing today?" Later on, I understand. They have understood philosophy of life. They have understood the psychology of life. Why? What are you doing today? Because this today is today, and this moment is this moment, and this moment is fleeting, and you will not get back this moment again. So when I started my lecture and when I end my lecture, in between 15 minutes, 10 minutes, or 20 minutes have passed, and you will not get back. That is history. You may record it, but you will not get back this person in that manner again. Even not tomorrow, because the thoughts and ideas that are coming today, tomorrow they will not be able to come in this manner. Tomorrow I may not be in the same frame of mind as I am today. So the point is, this is very, very important. And when I think of all these, I get a lot of pleasure out of life. Life is very interesting. Life is interesting simply because, if you think of life, you will find that life gives you so much, so much. Life always takes test. Life does not teach you. Life always teaches you. Life does not teach you beforehand. Life teaches you through test. The teachers teach you through lessons, and you read this, you read that. Okay, you do this homework, you write this, you do this problem, you go back and practice everything. Life does not give you any practice problem. For life, it is a problem. Every time it is a problem. So next moment, life may throw a problem at you, and if you pass, life has taught you through giving a problem. It is a problem today. For 6 months, we are indoors. It is a problem. It is a problem that life has thrown at us, and it is up to us how we can cope up, how we can cope with this situation, how we can really go ahead, how we can keep our frame of mind at the same level. That is important. So life is very, very interesting, very, very interesting. The light that you can see. I always say, people may sometimes come up with a lot of problems, and they say this did not happen, that did not happen. I say, what do you have? What is the problem? Why do you have a problem? You have two eyes, you have two ears, you have one nose, you have one mouth, you have one head, you have two legs, two hands. You can walk, you can do your work, you can do everything. There is no difference between you and me. So what really ails you? Where are you less? You are endowed with the same intelligence that the vice chancellor is endowed with. You have to practice, you have to develop, you have to solve your problems. You have to really go ahead and try to overcome the troubles that you are facing, because whatever you do, it is basically the tremendous zeal to live that keeps a person happy. Tremendous zeal to live. Well, I have nothing today, I may have a lot tomorrow. How does this happen? It only happens, because if you have remarkable zeal and enthusiasm towards life, You must feel good, in spite of everything. I get little bit of food for my consumption. I get little bit of drink for my consumption. I get water. Water is clean. I can take oxygen. I am still not, affected by any severe disease. So I am very happy. This thought should go to the students for mental, those who are having mental problems. People may think, what will happen to my study and what will happen to my examination. Forget about everything. This is a pandemic situation. You are not affected by any disease. You are healthy. You are good. Your parents are taking care of yourself. Be happy. Okay, that is what is important. That is what is important. So I always say that, let me end my lecture by telling you a story of forgetting the name, a very famous man. So he was given a home task in his school. He was given home task. What do you want to be when you grow up? John Lennon. What do you want to be when you grow up? That was a home task given to John Lennon when he was 5 years old. So he next day he submitted. He said happy, HAPPY. So the teacher saw, and the teacher wrote a note. You did not understand the homework. So this boy goes back. John Lennon goes back, sees that the teacher has written that you did not understand the homework. So he starts thinking, and after that, the next day he writes something on the paper and gives back to the teacher. And the teacher sees something interesting. John Lennon, her student, writes over there, and you did not understand life. The teacher wrote, you did not understand homework. John Lennon wrote, you did not understand life. So what do you want to be, my dear friends, my dear students? This is for the student ultimately, for these webinars. What do you want to be? Go with the words of John Lennon, be happy. We do not have happiness in this world. If you can create happiness out of your life, very difficult. Even the best possible persons are not happy, I tell you. If you get happiness out of your existence, you will be the person to reckon with, I tell you. So all my students who are on this platform, please take it from me today. Please take it from me. This is my advice to you. This is my advice to all of you. Be happy. In this pandemic, get all the strength to remain happy and come out of the mental problem. There is nothing called mental problem. Everything will be all right. Man has evolved over the years after a lot of struggle for existence. Darwinian theories. Darwin's natural selection and survival of the fittest, and struggle for existence, survival of the fittest. We have gone through this existence for so many years, millions of years, and we have evolved into human being. And we can only think, no other animal can. We can only ask about our cognition. We can only ask what is consciousness. We can only ask what is giving us the zeal to live. Why should I live? And who am I? Atmanam Vidhi. Where from am I coming? Tattamoshi. Oh, you and I, there is no difference between you and I. I can only ask where from I am coming. I can ask, I being a human being can ask. A human can ask that, where from am I coming? Kotha theke aschi? I can ask. So that is the existence that must give me the pleasure of life. And you must be honest. You must be sincere. You must be committed. You must be truly honest in this world. Whatever it is, be bold, have courage, and be honest. It is extremely difficult to be honest, but it is the most important thing of being honest. So be happy, remain honest, remain sincere, remain proud in the sense proud of being a human being, not proud that you have
this much wealth or that much wealth. No, proud of being a human being, because only you can ask, who am I? Only you can ask, Atmanam Vidhi. Only you can ask, know yourself. Only you can ask that, I will definitely overcome this, and I will cross the bridge, and I will scale Mount Everest, and I will go up and up and up and touch the sky and move with the Dr. Bhaumik is a teacher of English. I wandered lonely as a cloud. She must be knowing better than me. Who said? No, William Wordsworth, I wandered lonely as a cloud. Think about it. A human being does not have wings, but I wandered lonely as a cloud. I wandered lonely as a cloud. How can he be cloud? He can through his imagination. And Einstein has said the same thing. Imagination is more important than knowledge. He was asked, what is your special quality? Why are you do you think you are the most intelligent person? He said, no, I think I have what is known as imagination. And imagination is more important than knowledge. I can imagine. And he imagined the world. He imagined the universe. And the universe, God said, let there be light, and there was light. Who was God? You are God yourself. You can create new light for yourself. So that is what it is. That is my lecture. I do not prepare any lecture. I was sleeping. All on a sudden, Dr. Dibyendu Tolapatra called me, said, you entered the webinar. All my principals are my bosses. As I am their boss, they are also my bosses. So Dr. Dibyendu Tolapatra is also my boss, because he reminded in the morning and he reminded again in the afternoon. And he said that you join this webinar. And I joined. I was sleeping. I joined the webinar immediately. And whatever I told you, take it from me. There is no paper before me that I am speaking. No paper. Everything is coming from my head. And I always like this way, because you are getting me now at this hour the way this gentleman is. I never like, to prepare, because, there is something cosmetic. I'll take some quotation. I'll say something good, very, very good. And I will say, this is, the Vice Chancellor has said something very good. No, you get the Vice Chancellor the way he is at this moment. That is what I am really. And I'm really happy. Professor Tolapatra, Professor Bhaumik, and all others, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. I love all my colleges. I love my principals. I love my teachers. That is the only thing I can do, perhaps. That is, I can create this creative energy from the people. What am I alone? I'm nothing. None. I'm nothing. Alone, I cannot do anything. But together, if we work together, I can tell you, we'll be the best university in the country. If we work together allow us to work together for 10 years, we will be the best university in this country. We will be the best college in this country. We will work together and we will make everyone, everyone surprised with our performance. Allow us to work. So that is what my message today is. And dear friends, dear students, have faith in yourself. Be confident. Have faith in yourself. Be happy at the end of the day. When you go to bed at the end of the day, be happy. Say, what a day it has been. Beautiful day it has been. Tomorrow again, I'll make it a success. So with that, I'll end. Thank you very much. Stay safe. Take care. Take all precautions about COVID-19 and SARS-CoV-2, and follow the physical distancing system and norms, and make progress and make life successful out of your dreams, out of your ideas, out of your desires, aspirations. Man is born to fulfill his dream, and dream should be a small dream or a big dream. I do not know. Your dream must be fulfilled. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. I mean, nothing could have been probably better than this particular way to begin the second day of our webinar. I mean, you struck the chord so well. As always, sir, you have always been a source of inspiration and motivation for us. And today, you said all these words, and those were so poignant. I mean, we should all imbibe the kind of zest for life that you always possess, and we all should say yes to life and be optimistic and be happy, as you said. So with that note and tone of happiness, I would love to welcome all the participants who have come here today, virtually assembled here today, from different parts of the country, of India, of our own nation. And also, we have got so many international participants here who have come from USA, Philippines, Lebanon, Egypt, Romania, Nigeria, Nepal, Indonesia, Pakistan. So it really means a lot for us that we have got participants from all across the globe, for that matter, and it is international in the right sense of the term, in the true essence. And I would also like to take this opportunity to extend a hearty and cordial welcome to our three resource persons for today: Dr. Prem J. Heeralal, who has come from South Africa, the University of South Africa. We have amongst us Dr. Shanta Misra, who is former professor, Sri Sattya Sai College for Women, Utkal University, and she is presently a visiting professor in the International Institute of Rehabilitation Science and Research, Bhubaneswar. We also welcome Dr. Nondita Devi, who is from Kolkata itself, Shishuram Dash College. So I extend a hearty welcome to all the resource persons and to all the participants out here, and my sincere gratitude and thanks to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, who had, put those significant words in such a right way and set the tone of the webinar. So thank you, sir. I thank Dr. Dibendu Tolapatro, our very revered, respected, and beloved principal, sir, without whom this webinar would never have been possible. So with that note, we would straightway go to the third technical session of the webinar. That is the first technical session of today. And for the first technical session of today, I would like to invite Dr. Prem J.H. Heeralal, who is professor in the Department of Psychology of Education, University of South Africa, which is the largest open distance learning university in Africa. He has got 38 years of experience in the education sector as a teacher, principal, and university lecturer. His research interest is mentoring of novice teachers. He has also supervised various, different doctoral students. And apart from his qualification, in the field of education, that is, he has done his doctorate from in the field of education. Apart from that, he has also his diploma in project management, and he has also done certifications in doctoral supervision and in assessment. Moreover, he has diploma in biblical studies, and he would be talking on incorporating well-being into virtual teaching and learning. So over to you, sir, Dr. Prem J.H. Heeralal. We are so eager to listen to you, sir. Over to you.
Thank you, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, absolutely. Perfectly audible.
All right. Thank you very much. Having to speak after the Vice Chancellor spoke is a tall order. However, Program Director, College Leadership and Management, esteemed colleagues, and other distinguished speakers and participants, I feel honored and humbled today to speak to you on how to incorporate wellness into virtual teaching and learning. I spent a lot of time thinking about how to present this lecture, and I also, like our Vice Chancellor, wanted to just talk off the cuff. However, I decided against it, but to engage in a mixed mode of delivery. So some of what I'm going to say today is going to be highly academic, but also I will try to give you some practical hints on how to incorporate wellness into teaching and learning in particular, and to a certain extent into the virtual situation of teaching and learning that we are placed in at the present moment because of the virus. 2 days ago, the 10th of September, was World Suicide Day. And the World Health Organization estimates that about 800,000 people take their lives by committing suicide. That amounts to 1 every 40 seconds. And I thought I just mentioned that because we are will be dealing with wellness, and suicide is something that affects a large number of, especially Indian students. Let me begin by just giving you some background as to my own academic work and the institution that I am working at. I work at an online distance education university where most of what we do is already digital, and the pandemic has not affected us in the way and magnitude that it has affected residential face-to-face learning institutions. However, COVID-19 has served as a catalyst in ensuring that the last remaining contact activity with students at our university, that is the writing of venue-based exams or assessments, had to be done online during the May-June exam season for the very first time. This exercise was completed successfully, ensuring that our students had an end-to-end online experience. This means that I will not have a single opportunity to see any one of my students face to face ever again. Having said that, I would like to begin by giving you a very brief outline of my lecture today. I'm going to begin with a very lengthy introduction and background, which is going to be very academic, followed by a definition of well-being, its warning signs, the types, symptoms of mental disorders, what causes some of these mental illnesses, what are the risk factors, and how it can be prevented. And then move on to the more practical aspect by looking at how teachers or academics can support student well-being, and then finally make some concluding remarks. I always maintain that when I get into a classroom and start a lecture, I would like to give students an idea of what to expect or what the objective of the lecture is. So I would like to outline what my main objectives of today's lecture is. And I want you to, while you are listening, to pay attention to these very five hinges on which my talk will pivot on. The first one is a saying by the late Ravi Zacharias, who asserts that very few people think logically and rationally. And I want you to ponder on that. If I had time, I would actually give you an exercise or an activity which will demonstrate that this assertion is really correct. Secondly, G.K. Chesterton, the English author, said that before you remove a fence, think long enough to ask why the fence was put there in the first place. Thirdly, the Brazilian philosopher Paulo Freire said that classrooms die as centers of learning when they become a delivery system for a lifeless body of knowledge. How true this is when we are all sitting behind our computers and delivering lectures and talks, and the classroom is virtual and almost lifeless. We need to invigorate this classroom, make our students happy in those classrooms, as the Vice Chancellor has said. And incorporating well-being into the classroom is one of the ways of getting our students to be happy. The fourth thing I want you to think about as I deliver my lecture is that knowledge without wisdom for its application is useless knowledge. Fifthly, you need to acknowledge that very often students in your class or in my class know more about the topic that I am going to discuss than I know myself. Even now, there are thousands of people who are listening to me. Many of you will know more about wellness and incorporation of wellness into teaching and learning than I will ever be able to expound in this lecture. I'd like to move on to just briefly give you 3 definitions of education. One is my own definition, and I think that education is an endeavor to equip students or anyone who's prepared to learn to cope and deal with the realities of life. G.K. Chesterton said that education is simply the soil of society as it passes from one generation to another. Shakuntala Devi said that education is not about going to school and getting a degree. It is about widening your knowledge and absorbing the truths of life. I just want to say something about truth. The Russian physicist who gave Russia the atomic bomb, Andrei Sakharov, always believed that the atom bomb was the most powerful weapon in the world. But he changed his mind and said that the atom bomb is not the most powerful weapon in the world. It is truth that is the most powerful weapon in the world. Some people assert that education is a powerful weapon. I believe that it is neither education nor the atomic bomb that are the most powerful weapons. It is really the truth. And therefore, we as educators should, through education, be transmitting truth rather than knowledge. Let me start with now with my introduction. Wellness is something that we must consider whether we teach face-to-face or virtually. One of the priorities identified by Western countries before the pandemic began was the mental health or wellness in higher education. The pandemic may have forced us to shift priorities. However, wellness cannot be ignored as the pandemic has heightened and threatened wellness to a greater extent. Therefore, as educators, we must place wellness on our present list of priorities. Otherwise, we stand a chance of compromising both ourselves and our students. We must also note that we cannot just focus on students and forget about the educators, teachers, and others with regards to their wellness. We have to concentrate on the wellness of all those who are involved in education so that our universities function optimally. The mental health of university students has been a public health issue of increasing concern in recent years, with a growing body of empirical research showing that university students are a very high-risk population for psychological distress and mental disorders. A study of 6,500 students at 2 major Australian universities found elevated levels of generalized psychological distress in 84% of participants, where only 29% of the Australian population samples reported such levels. More particularly, a survey of 5,000 students at a large Australian university found that 13% of students reported severe or extremely severe depressive symptoms, and 18% reported severe or extremely severe anxiety symptoms, where only 5% of the Australian population samples reported such levels. This issue is not unique to higher education in Australia. The same applies to higher education in the United States and in the United Kingdom. Let me turn my attention now to what a case study of the situation regarding mental health in India. A case study conducted by Sita Bradwa in 2017 indicates that while there is growing awareness of mental health issues in India, there is less awareness of the issue of university students. This is according to Professor Nikhil Govind of the Manipal University. He attributes the lack of awareness to cultural reasons. Indian students may be less equipped to be fully responsible adults, such as living away from home and relying on parents for payment of fees. He believes this can also have consequences for their emotional maturity. He states that teachers in most universities seem remote and functional, concentrate on academics, and are not trained in any serious way about holistic well-being. Mental health care, he believes, is expensive for government and private managements in terms of time, skills, and money. Also, nowhere in India is there a serious endeavor to mitigate this, according to Nikhil Govind. What is the role of universities in supporting students' mental well-being? The unique potential of universities to support the mental health of students has been recognized through a variety of projects and initiatives targeting students with programs to improve mental health literacy, develop skills of self-efficacy, and manage stress, and promote health-seeking initiatives. These initiatives are extremely important, but the evidence of the effectiveness is very, very limited. Orme and Doris point out that rethinking learning environments to become health promoting is not easy and involves changes in syllabus, curriculum, and university culture itself. These authors emphasize the importance of involving students in the co-creation of university policies, programs, and activities related to student mental health, given the user empowerment, self-determination, and autonomy that are key elements of successful health promotion programs. While universities regularly collect student feedback on various aspects of their educational experiences, there are few empirical studies that examines students' perspective of their own well-being. Hence, at the best of times, statistics indicate that mental health and well-being of university students is a matter of serious concern. Now with COVID-19 and heightened stress and anxiety, well-being should be receiving greater attention. One of the ways of addressing the issue is to incorporate well-being into mainstream teaching and learning. As I mentioned earlier, in India, you are all well aware, suicide rates among students increase drastically soon after exam results are announced. The question is, what is being done to address this issue? Now that we have looked at some academic issues, let us look at some aspects with regards to mental health itself. What are the warning signs of mental health? I don't like to make lists. However, I'll just outline some of the warning signs that we should be looking for, and something that becomes more difficult when we start to teach virtually. If you are in front of a classroom, it is easy because you have students in front of you, to observe these warning signs. However, let me just outline them. Some of the warning signs of mental illness are long-lasting sadness or irritability, extreme high and low moods, excessive fear, worry or anxiety, social withdrawal, drastic changes in eating or sleeping habits. These are some of the warning signs. What are the types of mental health disorders that we encounter? I'm just going to list a few because time does not permit me to go into detail. Some of the mental health disorders are, some of these are maybe familiar to you, others may not. ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, which is very common, characterized by an inability to remain focused on tasks, impulsive behavior, and excessive activity, or inability to sit still. Although this disorder is commonly diagnosed in children, it can occur in adults as well. Anxiety disorder is another mental disorder defined by intermittent and repeated attacks of intense fear of something bad happening or a sense of impending doom. Mood disorders. There are many mood disorders. I'll just list a few. Bipolar, depression, something that is very common, especially now. It covers a wide range of conditions, typically defined by a persistent bad mood and lack of interest in pursuing daily life, as well as bouts of fatigue. Schizophrenia is commonly thought of as when you are hearing voices or having multiple personalities. These are just some that I have listed. There are many, many more that you can read up in literature. Just to sum up this, substance abuse is another of the mental health disorders that is quite common. What are the symptoms or signs of mental illnesses that we should be looking out for? I'll just also once again outline some of the common symptoms or signs. Feeling sad, confused thinking, reduced ability to concentrate. After you listen to my long lecture today, your ability is going to be to think is going to be reduced. It's not a mental disorder. It's because of my boring speech. Excessive fear. I'll talk about fear a little more. A little later on. Extreme mood changes are symptoms. Withdrawal from friends and activities, significant tiredness, low energy, or problem sleeping, detachment from reality, inability to cope with daily problems of stress, trouble understanding and relating to situations and to people, problems with alcohol and drugs, sex drive changes, excessive anger, hostility, or violence. See, something that comes up all the time in mental health is thinking about suicide. But these are some of the symptoms that we should be looking out for. What causes mental health? I'm just going to list 3 main causes and not go into any details because I'm not an expert at this. I'll just list them. Inherited traits are some of the causes. Environmental exposure, brain chemistry. These are some of the causes. What are the risk factors? A history of mental illness in blood relatives such as parents and siblings. Stressful life situations such as financial problems, a loved one's death or divorce. An ongoing chronic condition such as diabetes, brain damage as a result of serious injury, traumatic experiences such as in military combat or assault, use of alcohol or recreational drugs, a childhood history of abuse or neglect, few friends or few healthy relationships, a previous mental illness. Mental illness is common. About 1 in 5 adults have a mental illness problem. Mental illness can begin at any age, from childhood through to later years, but most causes begin early. Most cases begin early in life. The effect of mental illness can be temporary or long-lasting. You can have more than one mental health disorder at a time. For example, you may have depression and a substance use disorder. How do you prevent mental illness? The experts say that there is no sure way of preventing mental illness. However, if you have a mental illness, taking steps to control stress, to increase your resilience, and to boost low self-esteem may help keep your symptoms under control. You need to tell, as educators, as lecturers, we need to tell or inform students about the following steps: that they must pay attention to the warning signs, and we must pay attention to the warning signs that are displayed. We must encourage each other and students to get routine medical care. In other words, get help when you need it. You also need to take good care of yourself. Sufficient sleep, healthy eating, regular physical activity is important, especially now. So many of us are simply sitting behind computers and working. We need to get out and ensure that we have physical activities to keep us going. Try to maintain a regular schedule. Talk to your primary health provider if you have trouble sleeping or if you have questions about diet and physical activities. Over time, continued strain on your body from stress can contribute to serious health problems such as heart disease, high blood pressure, diabetes, and other illnesses, including mental health disorder. So much for the mental health disorders. Now let's turn our attention to look at how teachers can support students' well-being so that we don't end up with these problems. Educational research shows that academics and educators do in the design of classes and how they interact with students have a strong impact on student engagement in learning, including the approach they adopt and the learning goals they develop. How teachers teach and interact with students creates a learning climate, creates intrinsic motivation, and affects students' learning. As teachers, we need to arouse and ensure that we intrinsically motivate students so that they become autonomous thinkers. We must create learning climates that will motivate learners. We must create climates and environments that will support their well-being. We must have our teachers' interpersonal approach to students and their learnings must initiate student well-being. We can do this by promoting autonomous supportive learning environments. This we can do by designing learning tasks and select problems or examples that connect students' interests, preferences, and curiosity with current knowledge. Help students to make meaningful thought of their learning and understand the value of knowledge and skills being developed. We need to assist students to set personal learning goals that are realistic, meaningful, and challenging. We need to ensure that students understand that they need time to develop skills. We must design learning tasks that value and draw out diverse perspectives, experiences from the previous knowledge of learners. We must encourage students to contribute and build collective knowledge about a topic we are teaching. We must encourage collaborative learning. In other words, get students to work together. It sounds quite easy to talk about collaborative learning, but especially in the time of the virus where students are isolated, how do we encourage collaborative learning? How do we even ask students to collaborate in their learning? They must start to use tools that electronic tools, digital tools, have WhatsApp groups, and so on. This will encourage collaborative learning. We want to encourage collaborative learning. What about introducing collaborative assessment? It's something that I am doing research on. And if you are interested in how to introduce collaborative learning, you can contact me at a later stage and we can talk about this. How do we develop positive relationship with learners? We can improve student well-being by encouraging positive relationships. We need to have a friendly approach. How often do we care about what our learners are undergoing? Do we ever ask our children or our students, even in a face-to-face situation, do you have any issues? How are you feeling? Or what are their interests? Or do we simply just walk into a class, deliver a lecture, and walk away without having a meaningful relationship with our students? We must demonstrate interest in students, the questions they ask, the ideas that they have, use their ideas. As I mentioned earlier on, I walk into a classroom fully understanding that there will be a few children or a few students who will know more about the topic than I will know. How do I actually engage such students in helping not only other students understand, but also improving my own knowledge? We need to help students to become autonomous. We need to help them and provide them with meaningful choices, allow them flexibility in the learning approaches. We so often walk into classrooms and lecture. There are so many other approaches. Do we facilitate flexibility in learning approaches? Do we allow expression of negative feelings towards ourselves? If someone or if a student stands up and says, "Sir, your lecture is boring," how do you react? In my day, this lecturer would say, "What is your student number?" Takes it down. You are sure that you will fail the course. We need to change that kind of attitude. If students have negative feelings towards what we are doing, we need to examine ourselves to see if we are actually really doing the right thing. We need to reflection on what we do. The use of language. We are in a international seminar, so we are forced to speak English. And many of you who are listening to me today English is not your mother tongue. And at your university, you are forced to teach in English, although English is not your mother tongue. Students that are in your class come from different, have different home languages. Do you still teach in just the language that you are required to teach? Do you switch codes, code switching, teach words that might be difficult to understand? Do you use the vernacular? All of these things will help students' well-being, help understanding. Do you scaffold learning? Do you try to simplify complex issues? Do you provide time for feedback? Feedback is so important in helping you as a teacher to improve your practice. We need to develop techniques to help students to grasp fundamental principles and organize concepts in the discipline that we teach. Excellent teachers adopt an inquiry-based approach to their teaching and ask fundamental questions such as, what should students be able to do as a result of my teaching? How can I best help and encourage them to develop abilities of knowledge, gaining knowledge, ability to comprehend, ability to analyze, ability to synthesize, ability to evaluate? How can I help students understand the quality and progress of their learning? We should have a high expectation of our students and believe in their ability to learn. This means helping students to set and maintain realistic, high, personally meaningful learning goals and expectations for academic success, and encourage them to invest adequate time and effort in their academic work. We need to create challenging yet supportive conditions in which learners feel a sense of control over their education and work collaboratively with others. I always maintain that in order to gain control, as educators, we need to relinquish control. And when we relinquish control in a classroom situation, this does not mean that we lose our authority in the classroom. In actual fact, we gain the respect of our students when we lose our control, when we hand over the control to our students. They begin to respect us because we get onto the level of students. And as academics, we need to concentrate on getting to the level of students. We need to display openness with students and treat them with respect and dignity. Students appreciate teachers who are relatable, approachable, and who display openness about their own experiences in the discipline. There is nothing wrong with telling a student that I cannot answer your question because I don't have the knowledge at the present moment. Let us together go onto the net and answer that particular question that you are asking, or refer that student's question to another student or to an expert in the matter. There's nothing wrong with that. Openness is very, very important. Adopt a systematic approach to evaluate your own teaching and make changes. We need to change. We are in a process of learning. I'm in the profession for 38 years. I'm a teacher in the making. I haven't reached my full potential. I'm learning every day. What are some of the suggestions I have for you to incorporate into what are some of the teaching suggestions I have for you to cooperate so that you care about students? Show students that you are interested in getting to know them. Help students to connect with their peers on a daily basis. Help students to feel that they can relate to you. Help students to feel that they have input into the subject you are teaching. Communicate your interest in the subject. Show students that the subject has relevance to the world around them. As I mentioned, my definition of education is to ensure that we equip students to cope and deal with the realities of life. I'll talk about those realities very shortly because we haven't heard about the reality. We have heard about the problems of COVID that exist, for example, in your area. We haven't heard about the realities that students are facing. I'll talk about that very shortly by using an example. Introduce humor into your teaching. Thus far, no one has talked about humor. Have your own brand of humor. I'll give you an example of your own brand of humor. My daughter calls this dad's jokes. The other day, she said to me, I am running late. She was coming home and she wasn't on time. So she said, I am running late. I replied to her in a WhatsApp and said, start walking. Maybe you'll reach home faster. That is what she calls dad's joke, his own brand of humor. Get your own brand of humor. Learn to talk or converse with your students rather than lecture to them. Something which is very easy to say, but difficult to do, especially now. Easy to talk about it, difficult to do. We heard about that yesterday. Coming now to look at what are some of the things that are real to students. From where I sit, what is real that I know about in India today? From my vantage point, where I sit, since there is no cricket happening in India, its other preoccupation, Bollywood, is hogging the news. What about Bollywood is hogging the news from where I sit? 2 months ago, the demise of the actor Sushant Singh Rajput became big news. Is a current big news from where I sit that is happening in India. It is ironic that what started out as a mental health issue, the focus of this webinar, is currently playing out as a drug issue. Are you taking advantage and using this current news to teach your students about their own mental health and well-being? Or is it just being treated as another news event that will soon be forgotten? From where I sit, other worthy news events that I am aware of, which can be used as teaching tools for discussion and debate. 1. Indian Railways announces the introduction of its bullet trains soon. An 8-lane highway to be completed 2 years in advance between Mumbai and Delhi. These are some of the things I have come across. Happenings in India. Engineering students. You could be talking about the engineering feats in Indian railways and the highway that is being built. Discussion and debate around the economic situation, using these current events that are happening. Here are some points that you should note about student well-being. Good mental health is essential for university students to achieve their academic potential. Recent studies have indicated high levels of psychological distress and other symptoms of mental health difficulties among university students throughout the world. The best personal habits will not only secure mental well-being if a person's environment does not supply appropriate psychological nutrients. The environment must be the one that we start to look at for students. As I mentioned in the very beginning, we concentrate so much on students' well-being. What about our own well-being as academics, as people who work at universities? How are you managing your own well-being? Are you asking your colleagues how are they feeling? What are the problems that they are facing? Are you managing time efficiently to reduce your own stress? You'll have noticed that as a result of the virus, your workload has increased. You are now almost working 24 hours a day, working on a Sunday, which you normally don't do. Are you organizing and planning your sessions? Or are you working tirelessly from morning to night? Are you doing things one step at a time, not having all of these things to be done simultaneously? Are you staying in contact with your peers? All of these things are going to help you to reduce stress. Are you exercising? Are you staying positive? Are you doing the things you love? Or are you doing the things that have been forced onto you to do? Are you doing the things you hate? Or are you doing the things you love? Someone said that if you do the things that you love, those are your strengths. I'm not going to say much about that because I have an opinion on that. Are you talking about your finances? Are you talking about your family expectations, deadlines, and workload? Take note that stress leads to depression and anxiety, and you need to manage this stress at a very early stage. You need to teach students and yourselves how to manage stress. Ladies and gentlemen, academics and students are known to experience high stress rates with adverse health implications, including depression, anxiety, and even addiction. Thus, we need to deliver education programs that would better support students to make the transition from academic study to professional practices by developing authentic professional identity and establishing professional competencies that underpin development and well-being of the whole person. I want to conclude by making the following statement. India, in my opinion, is one of the greatest nations on earth. Nothing stops you from becoming the #1 nation in the world. We as educators have the power to give people dignity. Teachers adopting a pedagogy of care. I want to emphasize this, a pedagogy of care, changing the values and attitudes of students, change the nation and place it on a path of prosperity and success for all its citizens. I would like to repeat that statement. Teachers adopting a pedagogy of care, changing the values and attitudes of students, change the nation and place it on a path of prosperity and success for all its citizens. If the Dabbawalas of Mumbai can have an entry in the Guinness Book of World Records, nothing stops other Indians from achieving greatness and success. The late Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam said that if you fail, try again, because FAIL is first attempt in learning. FAIL means first attempt in learning, something that we should tell all our students, that there is nothing wrong if you fail. Try again and you will succeed. I thank you very much for listening and everything of the best.
Thank you very much, sir. It was really so inspiring and so enlightening for all of us. Yes, so truly said that we as teachers, it is not only our responsibility to impart bookish knowledge to students, rather we should have that approach of love and care, and we should always look after the well-being of our students, the mental health of our students. Thank you so much. We have certain questions here. So yes, the first question is from Pradeep Panda. He has asked, sir, do you think virtual learning can enable students to develop their scientific temper? And how many are really benefited in a country like ours, that is India, where only 30% have digital device? What about the others?
Yes, sir. Unfortunately, we are placed in a situation that we are in now. Virtual learning is, what we must understand is that this is only a temporary situation. It's not going to last forever. That is why we say we need to be positive. This will come to an end. If virtual learning was the answer to our future teaching problems, if it solved the problem, centuries ago, we would have gone into this mode of learning. It is a default mode. There is, I believe, nothing will replace face-to-face teaching and learning. So, yes, in certain professions, virtual learning will not be able to assist at all. For example, you take a medical doctor. Yes, we have technology for a heart surgeon to perform a heart surgery remotely, an ophthalmologist to perform eye surgery remotely. However, the human touch is always needed. You can imagine a heart surgeon performing a heart surgery remotely, and suddenly something happens and he is behind his screen doing a procedure, and something happens to the patient. He can't handle that issue. He has to go physically to the patient and rectify the issue. So yes, we must not discard digital technologies. They are here for the future. They will help us and assist us do things, but they will not be able to replace us totally, because behind the digital technology is a human mind, is a person. the people create the digital technologies. So, yes, virtual learning, virtual teaching has its pros, but it also has its cons. It must be, we must embrace it. But in a country like India and also in South Africa, where there's such a huge population, where there are so many people without connectivity, if we say we are going to teach virtually, how many of our people will not have access? So the inequalities will become greater and greater. You have a new education policy, 2020 national education policy, that is advocating digital technologies, advocating things such as mentoring and so on. But do you have the resources to ensure that every single student is digitally connected, can afford it? I'm afraid it's not going to happen in the very near future. It will happen, as I mentioned. India is a country with huge potential, and it can happen, but it's going to take a long time. In the meantime, we need to ensure that, as quickly as possible, we embrace technology, but at the same time, we get back to our face-to-face learning situation. Have I answered the question?
Yes, so correctly, so poignantly. Yes, okay, there is another question. We will take it very quickly. This is
Okay.
from Amandip Kaur Dhingra. He has asked that how can we take care of bipolar disordered persons when he or she is overwhelmed in the daily life situations?
Okay. I am not an expert in that issue, but I can just give you some advice. These people need specialized care, but let me just give you some practical hints on caring for people with mild disorders. If the disorder is extreme, you need professional assistance. But for the mildest sides, you need to be empathetic, because empathy builds resilience. You need to know more about diagnosis, symptoms, and so that you can become confident in supporting a person. You need to encourage people who are suffering. You need to be open minded. You need to encourage people to be calm. You can give practical support to people, not only for bipolar, but for other mental illnesses. You see a friend and you see that they are displaying symptoms of a mental disorder. Practical things. You get into the house, everything is upside down. Clean their house, cook a meal for them. You know, plan for difficult situation. And if you can't help with practical things, get professional support. So my advice always is, if you don't know how to do something, always go for help. But the most important thing with regards to mental health issues is to always stay positive. Always stay positive. And that is, very briefly, my response to that.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you so much for that brilliant deliverance, which was loaded with positivity and optimism. I mean, the things which are much needed in this contemporary scenario. So, thank you once again. We would now move on to our next technical session. And the resource person for the technical session is Dr. Shanta Misra, who is former principal, Sri Sattya Sai College for Women, Utkal University. She is presently visiting professor at the International Institute of Rehabilitation Science and Research, Bhubaneswar, Odisha. Dr. Misra had been, a veteran teacher, and she had been teaching for 37 years. She had completed her PhD from Utkal University, and she had been awarded her DLit from Berhampur University. She has guided various research scholars and is a recognized guide at various universities like Utkal University, Sambalpur University, Centurion University, Ravenshaw University, to name a few. and she has published extensively in both national and international journals of repute. Her areas of interest include comparative and cognitive psychology, personal growth and well-being, current issues and controversies in research methods, culturally appropriate psychology, philosophy of psychology, world peace technology, gerontological issues and psychology, and she also has a deep liking for organizing various seminars, workshops, and conferences. So it's an honor to have you with us, ma'am. And the topic that she would be dealing with today, the title of her talk is Virtual Education, the New Normal. So over to you, Dr. Shanta Misra.
Good afternoon, everybody. My hearty welcome to you all. Revered Vice Chancellor, Kolkata State University, Honorable Principal of this college, Honorable elites before me, dear organizing committee members, Dr. Devasis, Dr. Bhaumik, all the audience in front of me, and my loving students. I am Dr. Shanta Misra, the visiting professor of International Institute of Rehabilitation Science and Research, Bhubaneswar. To start with, Janami Dharmam Nachami Prabhuti, Janami Adharmam Nachami Nibruti, Toya Rusikesa Hrude Stitena Datha Niduktosmi Tatha Karami. With these holy words of Bhagavad Gita, the best example of teaching learning process, I would like to present my paper entitled Virtual Education, the New Normal. In this 21st century, when we are thinking of alternate or parallel universe and the virtual brain, that is the blue brain, virtual education is nothing but a new normal. I will start with this and finally I will end with this, that virtual education is just an upward continuum in the progress of the knowledge. It was, it is, and it will be normal in due course of time, keeping in view of the present scenario. This is the parallel universe. Next slide. This is the blue brain. Now, the next slide about the education. As the platform is of education discipline, I must focus on education. And I think it will not need more to tell about the education because all of you know education is derived from the Latin word educatum, which means to bring out the better quality of the individual, to rear the individual in the right way. In my point of view, education or shiksha is better understood than it is being explained in words. A person having highest degree may not have good education than who is not having educational qualification but a successful human being in the true sense of the term. Now coming to educational psychology, it is a branch of psychology that deals with the scientific study of the behavior of the human being in educational environment. Because you know, psychology is the scientific study of the behavior of the organism as a whole in relation to its environment. Hence, it is concerned with the scientific study of the human learning in the educational environment, the study of learning process from both cognitive and behavioral perspective that allows the researchers to understand individual differences in intelligence, cognitive development, motivation, self-regulation, self-concept, as well as their role in learning. The field of educational psychology relies heavily on quantitative methods, including testing, measurement, to enhance educational activities related to the instructional design like classroom management and assessment, which sought to facilitate learning process in various educational settings across the lifespan. Next, coming to technology, referring to the current technological era when we are living with different technologies and our lifestyle is being set with these technologies like information technology, media technology, biotechnology, peace technology, sleep technology, defense technology, etc., educational technology also has become a normal phenomenon through which we are inducing the teaching learning process in the educational system. Then what is technology and what is educational technology? Technology is derived from two Greek words, technique and logia, which means science of studying an art or skill. Educational technology implies planning, implementing, and evaluating a system in education to scientific principles so as to achieve the educational objective at the maximum level. It is a system of 5 M's like machines, materials, media, men, methods, and all are interrelated and work together for the fulfillment of specific educational system. In other words, educational technology is an effective use of technological tools in learning. As a concept, it concerns an array of tools such as media, mechanics, and networking hardware, as well as considering underlying theoretical perspectives for their effective applications. Next slide. While analyzing the educational technology, we must be aware of its evolution, development, function, etc. Coming to evolution, if we throw a glance to the evolution and development of the educational technology, we must point out Eric Ashe. He has explained four revolutions. First one, revolution of shifting the task of educating the young ones from parents to teachers and from home to school. Second one, revolution of adoption of the written word as a tool of education. Third revolution, revolution as a result of invention of printing and availability of books and other teaching and learning materials. Fourth one, revolution on account of development of electronic, chiefly involving radio, TV, cassette recorder, computer, development of system concepts, etc. In 19th century, Sydney Presser developed the machine using multiple choice. In 1930 to 40, Lindsay and Glasser they developed the mechanized education that consists of instructional objectives, entering behavior, instructional procedures, performance assessment. Glasser's models also includes focus, syntax, social principles of reaction, support system applications, etc. In 1950, B.F. Skinner's program learning came. In 1950, Renmore has used the term educational technology for the first time. B.S. Bloom was introduced the taxonomy of educational objective. In 1960, Flanders introduced the concept of interaction analysis model of teaching that includes dimensions of interaction, interaction analysis, etc. Then the theoretical assumption of interaction analysis by Flanders, by micro learning system in USA, by personalized system of instruction, by computer as assisted instruction. In this way, the evolutionary process of the educational technology is going on, and now we have reached on virtual education. Then coming to the role and function of educational technology in 21st century, it includes instructions should be student oriented, student centered, education should be collaborative, learning should have content, context. The function of the educational technology include improvement of teaching, analysis of teaching learning process, improvement of learning, enhancing goals of education, training to teachers, development of curriculum, development of teaching learning materials, teaching learning strategies, development of audiovisual aids, help in overall improvement, identification of needs of the community. Then the role and function of educational technology in 21st century. The process for analyzing and devising solutions to those problems through research, theory, design, production, evaluation, and utilization. The process involved in organization and personal management. The focus is on effective processes to facilitate learning using technologies and understanding the impacts of technology on learners and organizations. Instead of passively receiving information, The students could gather information on their own under the guidance of their teacher. Different learning systems are encouraged and students have an enhanced sense of motivation and responsibility. They engage in many different types of hands-on activities as well as demonstrates learning in many different ways. Learning is about discovery, not the memorization of the facts only. There is a call of action to integrate technology as a fundamental building block into the education in several broad areas. Then, gradually it grows and grows, and all know where we are in technological world and reached this virtual education. Now, coming to the current situation of pandemic COVID-19, the function of educational technology is in its prime position. The students, their parents, the institutions, the administrators, and the teaching learning process itself is in crisis to come out from the furious consequences of coronavirus. All are apprehensive of their future. So there is no other way and means to overcome the problem without the virtual education. Now the next slide on virtual education. Virtual education is the development form of education delivered usually via information technology networks without restricting the learners in space or time. Virtual education in the past have included distance education, but in the second decade of the 20th century, it usually deals with learning via internet without any formal requirement to attend a physical campus. In some cases, virtual education complements on-campus learning and as such is closer to the blended learning. That is a style of education in which students learn via electronic and online media as well as traditional face-to-face teaching. Next slide. Next, I will focus on the mental health as a psychological well-being from the perspectives of positive psychology and how it is influencing the educational system. To think about the virtual education and how virtual education is affecting the mental health in general and to the students in particular. Mental health is the level of psychological well-being or an absence of mental illness. It is that state, it is the state of someone who is functioning at a satisfactory level or emotional and behavioral adjustment. From the perspectives of positive psychology or of holism, mental health may include an individual's ability to enjoy life and to create a balance between the activities and efforts to achieve psychological resilience. To focus on education and mental health, it can be said that many mental health issues begin during the school years. So it is logical that mental health education should be a part of the course curriculum from the school level. Next slide, please. The pandemic and the mental health. All of us are having our well experience about the effect of pandemic, not only in our state or in India, rather throughout the world. We know it is affecting in a general way. The effects of pandemic in general is really overwhelming and really it is thrilling to each and everyone's heart. Then when it is influencing in general and as a whole, obviously the education will also be affected. So what to do? There is no other alternatives to have the close physical contacts. There is no other alternatives to have the physical education. So we have to opt the virtual education. And how it is affecting our mental health. Obviously, when we are having closer to the teaching learning system, it has a specific value as told by our Vice Chancellor. And as it was also explained yesterday by Professor Acharya that there are these problems. I do agree to it. But we have to face the reality. So my next slide is on reality swap. Now, the central focus of my presentation in this webinar, this is the reality principle that is based on reality shock, means what is actually going on in the teaching learning process. In this context, I would like to say two lines from Bhagavad Gita. तद्विधि प्रणिपातेन परिप्रश्नेन सेवया उपदेक्ष्यांति ते ज्ञानम ज्ञानिनस्तत्त्वदर्शनम. Meaning, learn the truth by the spiritual master, inquire from him with reverence, and render service to him. Such an enlightened saint can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. It is an interactive process between the teacher and the student, between the respondent and the recipient, by communication, coordination, and interaction, which is mainly done by the mental wavelength connectivity. The mental wavelength connectivity, I repeat, the mental wavelength connectivity in the system between the teacher and the learner. In reality, mental wavelength connectivity in the system is most important between the respondent and the recipient, which depends on personality, attitude, motivation, emotion, cognition, family background, socioeconomic status, etc. Though the educational technology is one of the flourishing domain in India, the full spectrum of ecosystem around digital content creation, delivery, and consumption still need to be matured in India. Teachers still need to be trained in online learning to get accustomed and comfortable in creating and delivering digital content. Also, in addition to the user-friendly product experience, personalized interaction through mentorship program should also be included to make it more holistic. Still, we have to face the reality. Still, we have to face the reality. What is exactly going on and what we should do. We must not stop here. We have to go ahead. Next slide, please. Naturalism. One thing we have to remember, that is naturalism. Nature is everything. There is nothing beyond it. The contribution of naturalism is significant in the progressive modern educational thought and practice also. Definitely, we have to bow down to the nature. Universe is a large machine and man is a part to that machine. Human brain is the building block and man is the technocrat to handle the techniques in each and every aspect of human behavioral development. Where we have to do, we have to engineer and re-engineer our thought process. What is in our thought process, what we are in our thought process, and what we have to do, what is necessity. So we have to re-engineer our thought process, which is very well explained by thought process re-engineering by Sajid Nair. Next slide. In this context, I would like to focus on indigenous psychology, the most important aspect of Indian philosophy that can best help to our thought process re-engineering. To analyze the relationship with mental health and indigenous psychology, it can be said that irrespective of caste, creed, condition, culture, gender, age, race, all are significantly affected throughout the world by COVID-19. But it is the indigenous psychology and its several philosophical theories that can help in improving the mental health, to have our mental stability, to preserve our mental calmness in this crisis situation, to have patience and to do everything calmly. They are Veda, Upanishad, Gita, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavata, Sankhya Darshana, Patanjali Yoga Sutra, etc. We have to keep patience to fight against the monster virus corona. These ethics can help in engineering and re-engineering the mindset of the people, mindset of the students, mindset of the public in general in achieving a good mental health to which we are giving the name third process re-engineering. Now, coming to my concluding remark, the next slide. Main thing is orientation. Orientation to achieve the goal, orientation to create awareness in the system itself, and this awareness and orientation should be fueled with innovation in personal level, family level, socio-cultural level, including all the stakeholders of the educational system. If we look to the evolution, whenever there is a necessity of the new system, there is its prevalence. Thus, in this pandemic, the virtual education is nothing but a new normal, as there is no other alternative. Finally, let's again return back to my introductory sentence that virtual education is just an upward continuum of progress of knowledge. It was, it is, and it will be normal in due course of time, keeping in view of the present scenario, that is again a new normal. And if time needs some more new skills, some more new techniques, then there will be further new innovations, and that will again be a new normal for that time. Virtual education is going to be the new normal. It will be the in thing. I am focusing on in thing for a long, long, long time to come, to the next generations. While analyzing the revolution, we have to just accept it. There are several examples about it. You can take the example of the films, you can take the example of the crickets, you can take the example of our technology in computerized system. You can take any other example. You will find that all these technologies, all these developments are in progressive manner, and we have to accept it. We have to accept it. There is no other alternatives. We will not stop here that these are the problems, these are the advantages, these are the disadvantages. No, just there is a need of appropriate guru, what I have explained in the sloka tat vidhi pranipatena. There is a need of guru or perfect teacher in the true sense of the term, who is a spiritual teacher, whatever he or she may be, whoever he or she may be, whatever may be the media, whether it is online education or it is the direct physical educational system. The, in the true sense of the term, whether there is a prevalence of a perfect teaching learning system, whether it is an online system or it is a classroom system, there is the necessity of one spiritual guru, appropriate guru, or a teacher who will guide the students in a perfect way, and that can enhance the teaching learning system. I do agree to the version of Vice Chancellor and also of Dr. Acharya, also of the previous speaker. But we should not stop here. We have to go ahead. We have to be advanced and make our children prepare in body, mind, and soul to reach the peak. Next slide. To quote a doctor, the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, relearn, and unlearn. Next slide. Now I call upon you all to mentally prepare yourself in order to embrace new innovations like virtual education system and move on with the evolution of the educational system globally. Please remember, the world is changing and it is changing very fast. Therefore, we must not only change ourselves but also lead the change and be the change makers in the educational system. Now it is up to you whether to opt in and to opt out. Thank you. I must thank the organizing committee. I must thank the all the participants here who has patiently listening to me. I must thank Madam Anita. I must thank Dr. Devasi, Dr. Abhi, Dr. Principal Sir, and Vice Chancellor, and all the participants of this webinar. To listen me patiently and also to give me scope to stand here in this international webinar on virtual education. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mishra. I mean, when you talked of the spiritual guru, and there was a beautiful amalgamation of our Indian philosophy with the present pandemic situation. I mean, that might be the only way by which we can, take recourse to a path of positivity and optimism. So that was a beautiful deliberation and so meticulous, so perfect. Thank you so much. That was wonderful. Okay,
Thank
we
you.
have got questions here, ma'am, for you. One is a question from Debashish, who is from the Department of Education. I mean, one of the organizing secretaries. His question is that, do you think our Indian philosophical practice can remove the fear of COVID situation? If so, then how?
Yes, of course, it can. You know, there are different techniques on yoga, meditation, etc. They can very well give our calmness, can very well give calmness to our brain, can very well provide patience. You will do the pranayama, if you will do the kriya yoga, if you will do the meditation, definitely it will come. And you know, coronavirus or the COVID-19 is now crowning we all. It is so deeply affecting all of us that we cannot but to bear it. And the situations, the incidences, the effectiveness around us really overwhelming and creating phobic reaction within us. I have one publication in just my journal, Odisha Journal of Social Science, of this July issue. If you can visit the website, my website, and the www.jasodisha.com. In that journal, I am the chief editor of that journal. In that journal, also there is a publication of my paper. How the COVID-19, how the pandemic corona is influencing the psychological aspect of the people and how to come out of that fear psychosis. I have focused there on the psychiatric aspect, the psychoanalytic aspect of the fear psychosis. If you will go through it, you can very well be aware of the fact that definitely in our Patanjali Yoga Sutra, in our Veda, Upanishada, Sankhya Darsana, you can find many more examples and many more practice that helps in bringing our mental wavelength, mental health in a positive direction. Corona will be us. Now it is not going to an end. It will be with us for some more time. For some more time, it will prevail in the world. We have to live in that crisis. And when we know that crisis is obvious, we have to cope with the situation. We have to manage ourselves, otherwise we can't live. There are also several incidences where the people are not being affected by corona, but by their fear psychosis, they are getting the heart attacks. Several examples are there. In this context, in this situation, I think it is advisable to follow the indigenous psychology, the Indian philosophical thought to maintain our good mental health, and it can help to come out of the fear psychosis of this monster coronavirus.
Thank you so much, ma'am. There is another question from Garudeshwar Das. He has asked that we have to go beyond textbook for knowledge construction. How virtual learning can help us in this regard?
In this context, I would like to give one example. When we were children, we are being taught to remember the whole word book, the whole dictionary. But imagine now, immediately, if you want to have any idea about any word or any knowledge, just put a clip either in computer or in mobile. You can get everything. So now the time has come that we need easy access to the knowledge. If we will go on memorizing the whole word book, the time we will spend in that remembering that whole word book can be used, can be invested in getting more new recent knowledges. Take the example of the parallel universe or the alternate universe. Take the example of the blue brain. If the scientists are able to create one blue brain, the virtual brain, where we can store all the memories of our own brain in the virtual brain, if we need to remember that what is the name of the day of my fifth birthday when I was 5 years old, we can't remember, but it is in our brain. We can't remember it, we can recall it. But if we will just put on the switch of the virtual brain, we can easily know. So the time has changed, and if we are thinking, we the elder generation, if we are thinking that no, the children cannot able to do all these things, no, they are the generation to generation, they are inheriting our knowledge. The intelligence we have, we are just putting a step forward to our father. Our children is just putting a step onward of our intelligence. Their children will take the step forward to their intelligence. So gradually, generation to generation, the intelligence is developing and developing and is having its generative or biological or genetic upward direction. You can't imagine a 6-month-old baby can able to operate the mobile perfectly. Can you imagine 1-year-old baby can able to handle the desktop? We can think of in our time, but we should not think in our mental set, in our mindset to our children. They are more and more developed genetically. They are biologically developed. Their genes, I have one article on circadian cycle. If you will go to that paper publication in one international journal, there you can find how I have emphasized on the effect of generation to the biological effect of the cell or the gene, how it is transmitted to the next generations. If you have the idea of the Nobel Prize holder on circadian cycle, there also he has mentioned it. So when we are thinking that the children are not capable of doing all this, no, they are having their own potentialities. Even they can handle more better than us to this technological era. In case of computer, in case of internet, in case of mobile, whatever may be the situation. So, if we will stop here thinking that they are not capable, the children are not having their potentiality, it is not correct. Rather, we should encourage the system. We should encourage the system that these techniques should prevail even after Corona. I can't disagree that when a teacher and student sitting together, that is having another effect. That is also another psychological implication. I do agree to it. But with that, these technological system, these online system, these virtual education should have should should be continued. Then with the real classroom teaching situation, it will be an addition. Right? Any doubt?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, ma'am. Okay, thank you for such a beautiful deliverance. So insightful and so encouraging. Thank you so much. It was an honor to have you with us. Okay, now we would move on to our last technical session. Now, before I move on to that session, I can see here that many of you are asking for the feedback link. The feedback link will be provided to you in due time on the YouTube live chat box. So you can find it out from there that you will be given that on the YouTube live chat box. And so now it's and after that you'll be getting your certificates within 10 days. So please you will have to bear with us for a few days. So you'll be getting it within 10 days. And now, before I move on to the next technical session, or categorically the last session of today, I must tell you that the person or the two persons because of whom you can view this live streaming almost in a flawless manner, they are the two persons of our very own college, our technical coordinator for this webinar, Dr. Obhik Roy. Obhik, may I please have you on screen? Obhik?
Hello.
Okay, all right. So this is Dr. Obhik Roy. He is the technical coordinator of this entire webinar, and it is because of him that we are being able to host this webinar, and without him, this webinar would have been almost inconceivable. So thank you, Obhik. I thought to, that everybody should know. So Dr. Obhik Roy, librarian of Derozio Memorial College. We also have our technical assistant. He is not here right now. He is from my very own department, who is Orithro Banerjee. He is the technical assistant from the Department of English. So, okay, now, so after this, we would move on to our next technical session. Yes, Obi?
I have a quick announcement. Can I?
Yes, please.
Yeah. I would request all the participants, because I know that the participants are getting increased time by time, that please subscribe, and do subscribe our YouTube channel, this DMC Online, because we are, as our officer has already declared, that we are very dynamic in uploading this kind of content and organizing such webinar and other academic exchange programs and other academic events. As I can say you that tomorrow we are having another international webinar on digital divides, rebridging the divides, jointly organized by the Central Library, and I am being the librarian and the organizing secretary of that, and the Central Library of Uluberiya College, Howrah. So if you subscribe this and press the bell icon, you can get notifications despite of not being registered. So do subscribe our channel so that you can always keep in touch with us. Thank you. Hope you are enjoying the sessions. Over to
All
you,
right,
Amol.
thank you, Ovik. Thank you for the necessary information. Okay, now we would move on to our final technical session. The resource person for this session is Dr. Nondita Devi, who is Assistant Professor and Head, Department of Education, Shishuram Das College, Kolkata. Nondita Dev, she had uh, completed her PhD in education, and currently she is pursuing her PhD in psychology. She has got 11 years of experience, very young and very dynamic. She has published in various national and international journals, and the title of her topic today is Exploring Virtual Learning and Students' Mental Health. So over to you, Dr. Nondita Dev.
Thanks a lot, Mahuya ma'am, for such a kind words. And thanks a lot to the entire team of Derozio Memorial College for giving me the opportunity to share some of my views so far as this particular topic is concerned. Yes, definitely, I must be saying that it was really a fruitful experience from my end as well. Being the most young resource person of the entire forum, because since yesterday I'm listening to the other resource persons who were there, Professor Acharya and Dr. Shane, and also today Professor Heeralal and Professor Misra. It's really some of the great insightful learning I have, and definitely I will try my level best to do justice with the time slot which has been allotted to me. And I'm really looking forward with the sessions and and the feedback of the response which I'll be getting at the end of the session. So I will just ask the technical help so that I can share my slide and I can start with the session. Please open my first slide so that I can discuss with the major issues. The talk which I have today is specifically on I will be exploring, I'll be trying to focus on some of the major ideas exploring virtual learning as has been put forward my topic, and some of the students' mental health issues. Please open the first slide so that I can move forward with the next slide, please. This is the title slide. So I will really try to do some of the justice with the basic issues of virtual learning, though it has been put forward by some of the eminent personalities and resource person before me. But yet, it is the fact and reality we all know, because we are all facing this reality for the last 6 months altogether, and it's not, as has been put forward by Professor Misra just few minutes back, that educational technology and technology is education is not a new concept altogether. It's a very old concept, and we are really going to this particular concept in a theoretical manner days before, maybe more than 50 years down the lane. But whenever the practical applications of these digital issues are concerned, is it's really the pandemic days, and the COVID-19 has really given us to exercise and reinvent our thought process so far as the basic concept of education technology is concerned. Because in the pre-digital era, we were much more focusing on the learning context and the content, which was on the basis of face-to-face mode. And definitely, as a teacher, we all know there cannot be any replacement of teaching learning mode so far as the face-to-face learning is concerned. But really, none the less importance is because we really need to keep up pace with the change and the transformation we are facing these days. And we are really looking forward so that we can reinvent and reorganize our thought process, because we cannot move on unless and until we accept the change in the wholehearted manner. Yes, I must admit, this is a very concept of human psychology, that we don't accept change in a very wholehearted manner in the very preliminary phase. But we don't have any other alternatives, because for the last 6 months, we all know we are stuck into our home, and we are to deal with our students. We really need to work on so far as the e-elements, e-context, e-learning issues are concerned. So next slide, please. I will be trying to focus on some of the major issues of virtual learning, as we all know. But the main things I will not do repetitions of the thing, because some of the eminent personalities and resource person have already talked on online learning and virtual learning. But just to focus on and just to review some of the major factors, is that whenever we are talking on the initial considerations of virtual learning, we really need to focus on the communication factor. I will like to address these as the major C's. Or whenever I'm meaning the C, it is the content delivery or the content. It's very important for whom I am delivering the content, who are my target audience, who are my stakeholders, who are my persons with whom we are going to deal with, whether it's the research scholars, whether it's a UG or the PG level students, and whatever themes and sub-themes I'm really going to deal with them, is a matter of concern we need to focus on so far as the content part is concerned. And the next very important kind of thing is how we are going to communicate. So communication, as we know, it's a soft skill, and it's a very important skill in also whatever is the face-to-face mode learning or online based virtual learning. Communication is really the core of teaching learning procedure, and we all know that. But whenever we are considering on the virtual, we are trying to explore virtual learning, yes, I must admit over here as a academician and as a scholar, that communications really need to be taken a good look, and we really need to focus on the issues of communications with whom we are communicating. And so the language issues, because we can understand in online mode, we are not being able to gauge that face-to-face touch of our students and of our learners. So how we are going to communicate in a much more effective manner, so that it really becomes fruitful for our learners and our stakeholders. And on keeping in view the communications, we really need to give a good look to the context as well, because there are several contextual situations. It may be the physical issues my learners dealing with using the technology. Though we know that we are dealing with Generation Z, and they are much more user friendly with the network issues, the gadgets, and all the different kind of technological issues, then the teachers and the other mentors, specifically the senior mentors. But yet I must say we really need to focus on the contextual part if we are able to make our sessions and our lectures and our teaching learning environment much more meaningful. So here I will focus on another C, that is collaboration. This particular term we all know, and it has been put forward by Professor Heeralal as well. Collaboration is really the call of the day, and really we need to work on, though we know the term, it's a very basic kind of term. We have been using it in a theoretical manner long before, but whenever it's coming on exploring virtual learning, really because we can get very common examples. As before introducing my particular session, Mahuya ma'am was introducing Dr. Ovik Roy, and we can understand without a technical person who is much more well aware about the entire kind of thing, the technical issues. So it's always the collaborative kind of thing we really need to focus on, we really need to work on. If we are trying to make our teaching and learning much more effective in the truest sense, and we want to reach to our students at each and every respect, we really need to make that team in a much stronger way with much newer perspective. We really need to rekindle our thought process to work on in that way. And here comes the importance of assessment as well, because these days we all know, because of this pandemic situations, there are several critical issues are coming on in the mind of the students as well as the teachers and the mentors who are dealing with this assessment part. And maybe some sort of stress is also coming out. I will be dealing with that part in my latter part of the lecture. But to be in a nutshell, we can understand assessment part is also a very important kind of thing. And unless and until whenever we are talking about exploring virtual learning, we really need to rethink and redesign our program of assessment, because it cannot happen that we are just giving online sessions, lecture sessions, and we are not working on how to assess our students. Because when the entire system is changing and transforming, let us focus on the issues of assessment also in and let us redefine the issues of assessment also. Because in Indian scenario, so far as my knowledge goes and so far as my research work goes, we all know it's much more certificate oriented kind of thing. So whenever we are considering these kind of changes, and if you really want that the changes will be focusing on the positive aspects of life, we really need to focus on the assessment issues as well. Next slide, please. So this is the new normal education system. We are all facing it, the digital transformation. As my talk is on exploring digital virtual learning and the digital transformation. So as I was talking in my previous slide, whenever we are trying to give a good look to the diagrammatic kind of thing which I have presented in this particular slide, we can focus on the issues of the technology oriented kind of thing, so far as the skills and the technological access is concerned. And we all know the students, the learners, the generation Z, they are much more smarter than us. They can download things, they can reboot their things, they can exercise their thought process in a much more flexible manner. And we should have a bigger heart to accept that fact that technological access, technological savvy, they are much more technological savvy. And it's not it's really a good point also. We can, when I was talking about the collaborative learning, yes, we can take the help of our students. We can take the help of our learners, our research scholars, to make our knowledge, and we can upgrade ourselves by the shared wisdom, which we can gather from our students as well. Because this is a time we really need to work on how to explore more. So whenever we are considering this digital transformation era, it's really the students are much more accessible. So whenever on the perspective of the instructor and the mentor and the teacher, it's something we are again in the process of learning, because I personally can say I am much more younger so far as my the other personalities over here who have given their talk. I am in my learning phase, and I believe we are all learning and relearning, as put forward by Professor Misra. So it's all about how we can learn technology, we can collaborate with our students, and we can learn the issues. And definitely here we need to give a good look to the time availability, because often it happens that whenever we go for a face-to-face mode learning, we are programmed with that kind of thought process that I'm trying to focus on. We are programmed with that kind of thought process. That is the reason whenever there are eminent personalities, I know personally, and must be you also be knowing, they're great teachers, they're great mentors, but whenever this time availability, dealing with the facts and figures of the time management in digital mode of teaching learning transformations, they cannot keep a balance with the time availability. This is very, you can say, one kind of challenge, you can say one kind of constraint, and you can say we really need to work on with the time availability, because generally it happens that whenever we go for a face-to-face mode class, if it's a 1 hour sessions, maybe a 1.5 hour sessions, if you take 10 to 15 minutes extra, it's not a big deal. And we just love to do that once our module and whatever themes and sub themes we are dealing with, unless and until we get that we are concluding it then that way. But again, the time management is a big constraint, and it's a big matter of part in any kind of online both teaching learning, and we need to work on in that perspective as well. And whenever the technological tools and course content is concerned, we can understand that course content is something we need to work on so far as the disciplinary approaches are concerned. And these days, since we are much more focusing on the interdisciplinary and the multidisciplinary approach, if you are seeing across the world how teaching and learning is taking place, we can really understand it's altogether an interdisciplinary approach. And so whatever discipline for course content we are developing for our students, we can give a good look to that kind of approaches as well, with the technology, with the gadgets, with the platform which we are using. Next slide, please. So I will be focusing on when I was in the last slide, as I was talking, that particular chart was where we really need to give a good balance between the students, the teachers, the contents, and how we can communicate. So communications and community, this is a very important matter of concern in this new normal education system, because neither we nor our students were accustomed with this. Mainly, I'll be focusing on majority of our schooling and college days and our university days. I personally have all my teaching learning environment in my face-to-face mode learning. So it's all about getting a personal touch with our mentor, with our teachers, and that kind of thing. And the same goes with the students as well. So this communication part is really something we need to focus, and we need to redesign our thought process, because how we are communicating, because neither we are adjustable with this new change in a very full-fledged manner, and nor our students were not very much accustomed. And specifically, if we are talking about the rural areas, the suburban areas, there are several issues so far as this network communication matters are concerned. So that we need to focus on it. Also, the most important thing is the community with whom I am dealing, with whom, who are my target audience, who are my learners, what is their mindset. This is very important, because whatever mindset they are having, and whatever pre-learning they are having, it's all about how I can, as a mentor and as a teacher, can develop their belief system. This is very important, because none of them has accepted this kind of, no one used to know that this change is going to happen so suddenly in our life. So entering into the belief system of the learners, I mean to say the community, the learners group, whatever background they have, whatever mindset they have, and whatever preliminary knowledges they have, unless and until I being a mentor, I being a scholar, I being a teacher, I'm entering into that belief system and I'm making the things very positive for them. These kind of technofed virtual world and this new normal system will really face a little bit of challenge, but we are all hopeful with the fact that whenever any kind of transformations and changes comes, it's all about that we don't accept it in a full-fledged manner, in a positive way at the very first hand, but gradually we get used to like the way we have used ourselves. We have become much more user friendly with the smartphone and the other kind of gadgets and what in our day-to-day life. Next slide, please. So I will be focusing on a little bit of this virtual learning environment, and then I will straightforward move with the mental health issues. So it's as I was talking in my previous slide, it's whenever we are, this is a very basic difference between the virtual learning environment and the face-to-face mode learning. So as was put forward by some of the other resource persons, this personal touch, and also Honorable VC sir was saying, whenever we go for that face-to-face mode learning, I am able to visualize and I am able to see what is the body languages and how they're looking at me, what is the changes in their eye contact and body movement, and whatever the other issues going on in their facial expressions and this kind of thing. But whenever we are going for these online sessions and everyone is their video is off, their different kind of, because of the network issues and some of the other disturbances, maybe we are not being able to identify these kind of things. So we really, as a mentor, we really need to go through that kind of, I'll be using the word over here, customization. It's a very newly developed world and word which is a very creating a good market in this present 21st century. We very frequently, whenever our lifestyle issues are concerned, we use the term customization. And yes, in this virtual learning environment also, nonetheless, because now we cannot go in a very generalized way. Our talk deliberations, our way of delivering any kind of lectures and ideas and sharing our viewpoints with our students cannot go in a very generalized way. That I'm trying to focus on. And the reason behind is that because I'm not been able to visualize the entire facts and figures and their entire desires, their criteria, their how they are going to react and how they are going to respond altogether to the entire kind of thing. So this is a very important matter of concern, and that is the reason whenever we are focusing on, we are trying to explore the virtual learning environment, we must give a good look to the concept of customizations to the exact needs and priorities and desires of my each and every learner. Because in face-to-face mode, we can give a generalized talk, and we generally used to do so. And to be very honest, people who are teaching in the higher educations, whether college and university, doesn't matter much. We used to deal with our students in a face-to-face mode. We used to generalize our talk, our tone of delivering in a very generalized way, because we used to understand that students will be, we used to visualize their other issues altogether. But in this virtual learning environment, since there are certain obstacles to understand the needs and criteria, the specific needs and criteria I'm focusing on, and it's we cannot tap and we cannot understand it in a very fruitful manner because it's all going on in the virtual world. So sometimes the teachers really need to focus on customizing their talk, their teaching learning process, their teaching learning style, their strategies, understanding, giving a good look to the priorities, the demands, the desires of the students. And here comes the importance of social learning. And we all know this social networking, social learning has really taken a good place in our life. And whether we like it, whether we love it, whether we don't accept it, it's a kind of thing which has taken a good place in our life. There are several critics speaking on this kind of social learning. I will not go into that details because of the constraint of the time, but definitely I will focus on these kind of social learning, and this networking, social networking based learning is also taking a good place in our virtual learning. And since today's my talk is on exploring virtual learning environment, so I thought that this particular example is also going to be much more meaningful. Next slide, please. So I'll just outline the basic ideas because in some of my previous slide, I have also put on these issues. And the majority of the specific skills we can understand, so far as the personal skills are concerned, it's all about it's all about something. Whenever we are going for virtual learning, everything has its plus point and everything has its negative point. Nothing in life comes with a package of full-fledged kind of things that with all positivity and no negativity. It's never can happen. Overuse of anything can create a negative issues, and overuse of anything can create a negative impact altogether. So I will focus on the major skills, and it's always whenever the personal skills are coming into consideration, in spite of the fact this teaching learning environment, whether it's a face-to-face mode or virtual learning, we teachers, we mentors, we scholars, learners, it's like a lifetime journey. So unless and until we are a motivated personality altogether, and we cannot control our self-being, self-inner being, I'm mainly focusing on, and we don't have the power to take the responsibility of my students, I don't have the power to take the responsibility of myself as an individual personality altogether, this is really going to affect my virtual learning altogether. So in spite of the fact literacy skill, the basic computer knowledge, the basic agent oriented knowledge, the basic technological knowledge is definitely needed. I'm not saying that it's not needed, it's mostly needed, but with that we really need to balance the personal skill and how we are accepting the study skill. This is again an important kind of thing, because as I was discussing in my last slide, the social networking learning, I cannot stop my learner to do Facebook and see different types of YouTube lecture sessions if he or she is going for. So it's all like that. This social networking is taking a good balance in our life, and let us accept the reality and let us see how we can whatever positive things we can develop from there. So study skills are also changing on perspective from the different platforms, different time management, and really we need to balance all these skills to explore virtual learning in a positive manner. This is my personal viewpoint. I'm really looking forward from yours in the feedback sessions. Next slide, please. And internet skill and collaboration, definitely we can understand whenever these kind of things are happening. Yes, there are several obstacles, there are technological divide, there are different kind of block mindset, and to be very honest, we all have that kind of, yes, the percentage may differ, or what kind of blockage is there. A person as an individual person is, if he or she is a very positive kind of personality, that will be reflected in his or her own talk, whether it's a face-to-face mode or whether it's a online based or virtual learning kind of thing. So internet skill is definitely needed, but I should not be focusing on that. We really need to be an expertise person so far as the technology is concerned, because my specialization is also education psychology, and I suddenly cannot stop doing my research in educational psychology and started doing MCA and start becoming an expert in computer analysis and all this kind of thing. It's not possible under this time. So what we can do is that we can have a nominal and basic ideas to handle our day-to-day life situations, and we can take the help from our learners, from our students, and most importantly, we can create a good team. The other persons, our colleagues, our technical specialized persons, the experts who are there, we can collaborate with them, and we can gather some of the basic specific skills which will help us really to nurture this kind of virtual learning in our day-to-day life as a teacher and as a mentor. Next slide, please. So I will just like to focus on these 5 to 6 points. It's mainly as my talk is on exploring virtual learning, the two important phase where virtual learning is really getting majority of the challenges. And it's basically leadership areas. And before going into the details of these sub themes, mainly two areas I'll be focusing on. One is planning and another one is implementation. This is the planning phase in any kind of virtual learning, because since we were much more used to with our face-to-face mode of learning, planning a particular session, how much talk I will be delivering from my end, what will be the time management, what will be the content and the context of my talk, and what kind of response and reaction I'll be getting from the end of my learners, and accordingly how I can reflect on them. These are certain areas which are all coming into the planning phase. So unless and until a mentor and a guide is able to plan out those kind of things in a very fruitful manner, things are not going to be very much effective. And here again comes the importance of the implementation. So I will be just giving a basic outline of the 6 points in my upcoming slide, so that we can understand, unless and until we balance the planning and the implementation part, virtual learning will really cannot be much more implemented in the truest sense. Next slide, please. So as I was focusing on the leadership, this is again a very important kind of thing for any kind of learning, whether virtual or any kind of face-to-face learning also. We all know, but why I'm focusing on these 6 points so far as exploring of virtual learning, because as I was talking on the planning part, a teacher, a plan, if he or she is not a very organized kind of personality, if he or she is not a having a very systematic plan out, it's really going to be a mess in virtual learning kind of thing, because you can understand what content I'm going to deliver to my students and how innovative way, because you can understand from the perspective now as an audience, when our audience is following me, my students are following me, and they are not getting that face-to-face more touch, that human touch. So unless and until I take extra effort to play a leadership role, to plan out my entire program in a much more innovative manner, it's really not going to be worthy. It's really not going to be worthy, because I believe as an audience and as a teacher and mentor, we are attending different kinds of webinars and different kinds of online programs these days. So if we don't have the that zeal in the session, that innovative ideas in the sessions, really things become much more monotonous, and we cannot, and this is where the role of leadership is very much important, how to plan out the entire kind of thing, so far as the communications, the entire program of virtual learning is concerned. Next slide, please. Professional development, this is again a very important area, as I was talking in some of my previous slide also, that this is something it's an ongoing process. It is nothing like that I know so late, so I will be feeling down, I'll be feeling low. If I need to learn from my colleagues, if I need to learn from my students, no harm, please go ahead. And I believe we are all doing so. We are all nurturing, we are really rethinking and revising and redesigning our thought process, because this is high time we really need to reinvent ourselves as an individual personality, as an individual mentor and teacher. And unless and until we are able to do justice with those facts, that is the reason we always as a teacher and as a mentor and as a scholar, I love that we should always be in that professional development phase, and we should always reculture ourselves, and we should always redesign our thought process as a resource person, or as a person, individual personality altogether, individual participant also. We can learn from our colleagues, our friends, our other team members, our students, and can develop that support system, because as Honorable VC sir has told in the beginning of the address, that it is not I, because it's always we. If we are developing that professional development altogether, it's really going to be fruitful so far as the bigger scenario of the entire teaching learning environment is concerned. Next slide, please. So teaching and instructional practices, as I was talking for virtual learning, I am not saying that for face-to-face mode learning, definitely also, unless and until a teacher and a mentor is an innovative kind of personality, he or she cannot address the different issues which our students are facing, and what are the different kind of needs, and how to cater the individual needs of the students. So teaching and instructional practices is always an important area and important matter of concern for any mentors and for any teachers. But whenever we are focusing on the virtual learning kind of thing, yes, we really need to do some extra effort, because we can understand now when I cannot see them, when I cannot understand the body language, whether they are on, they are off, their mind is going somewhere else, and what are the things going on in their thought process. So these are
Dr.
the areas. I will
Dev,
just
yeah, I'm very sorry to
I will be
interfere,
just
but yes, please wrap it up.
I'll just
Yeah, okay, because
shorten
all
it
the
down. Okay,
participants
thank you,
are
thank
very,
you.
restless right now. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, thank you. So I'll be just shortening the thing, because there is constraint of time. So this teaching learning areas is also a very important place. Teaching learning instructional practices is also a very important area which we need to focus on. And next slide, please. So I will just outline this because there is constraint of time, so that I can cater some of the basic points in the last mental health issues. So this management system is also very important, because which forum we are using and how we are using it. It's also our delivery kind of thing need to be whether it's very much user friendly to our students or the other mentors and the other group, that is also need to be taken into consideration. Next slide, please. The content, as I have talked on this content, so I will not focus on much, I will not take much time in this particular slide. Next slide. And definitely the technology. So what user-friendly technology we are using, and whatever technological support we are getting, so far as the hardware and software issues are concerned, that is again a part of planning and implementation, as I was talking on. Next slide. So next slide. This is the major areas where techno stress, it's okay, techno stress is going on, because we can understand that since we are not much more overused with this kind of thing, so time management is really a kind of thing we all face, because these days whenever we use this kind of webinars and this kind of programs in our also day-to-day online sessions, we can understand this technological issues, and how to deal with the time, how to deal with the platform, the mode of transactions, the contents. These are really becoming something overburdened for us sometimes, and it's creating the techno stress situation. Next slide, please. So this is the early adopters are only 10 to 15%. And we can understand it's only the generation, the younger generations who are accepting it in a very wholehearted manner, only 10 to 15%. But the rest of the other persons, they are hesitant, they are registers, and they cannot accept the technological issues in a very wholehearted manner, and they are still in the phase that what to do and how to do and how to take the issues. So they are going through different kind of mental health problems. Next slide. So skip this particular slide. I will be just focusing on the students' mental health issues, because as there are certain kind of attitudinal problem also, because we can understand the entire phase of teaching learning was totally different. So the attitude, how they are perceiving the entire kind of thing, and how they are adopting the thing, and from there itself, the perceived usefulness fact of whether it will be useful for them, because unless and until I as a learner have that, I start my journey with the mentality that I have a negative attitude with the entire kind of thing of this virtual learning, and I'm not very user friendly with the kind of thing. So my adoption process and my perceiving of the things will not be creating a good impact so far as my teaching learning environment is concerned. Next slide. So overall, just skip this slide. We can say to keep a good balance with the entire kind of thing. So for the learning outcomes, the development, and the required skill, it is really a high time for us to, if we want that mental health should be balanced, we need to focus on the learning outcomes, keeping a good balance with the skill of collaborations. And when I'm focusing on the skill of collaborations, it can be different area skills, and maybe we'll have to relearn the issues, and we really need to reinvent our thought process, and accordingly we can apply them in the truest sense, taking whatever advantages we have, whatever resources we have, and whatever healthy environment we are getting to communicate with our students, teachers, and the other peers. Next slide, please. So I will skip this slide because next slide. Again, skip this because these areas I have already talked on. So far as the major impact of this virtual learning is concerned, and since there is constraint of time management, so I will just focus on that. See, mental health is something accordingly how we are addressing the thing. So it is all about how we can cope with the thing, because changes has already come, and whenever change comes in our life, it doesn't take our permission. So we really need to work on with the things that how we can. We should not be dictated by the technology, right? We should not be getting dictated with the technology. We should keep a balance with the whatever new technology, new techniques, new strategies, new ideas, with the help of the gadgets and the online platforms we are getting. We should nurture anything and everything which is coming, and trying to explore the thing, how it is going to be beneficial for us, so for as the call of the day is concerned. So we need to cope up with that technological changes. Next. I will not go into the details of that. Next slide. So since there is a constraint of time, so I will just conclude with this words that we really, this is something to deal with this new normal virtual learning world, because we need to critically reflect ourselves as a mentor, and we also need to help our learners to how they can also critically reflect, because spoon feeding is something which has created a mental health issues in majority of the teaching learning environment. We all know that. If we accept it in I should have a bigger heart to accept that fact, and I believe we all know that. So unless and until we plan out and manage this kind of change, and how we can decide and decision making kind of things, we really need to reinvent our decision making also, sometimes or the other, keeping a good balance with the criteria and with the coming generations with whom we are dealing with in our day-to-day life, so far as the teaching learning is concerned, and understanding their needs, their criteria, their priorities in a democratic decision making way. Last slide. Next slide. I believe it's almost in. Just skip out the. So it's all about. I will just next slide, please. So it's all about. The thing is that yes, whenever this virtual learning and this mental health issues are coming out into talk, there are several vulnerable issues which we are facing in our everyday life. But it's definitely with the vulnerabilities itself, our strength comes on, and we can reinvent and we can redesign our mind programming also to think and to accept the things in a very positive manner. Thank you all. Looking forward for the questions and the feedbacks. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Dev. It was a very engaging session, particularly the need to communicate. Yes, that is absolutely the need of the hour. That is the need for every day. We don't have any questions here, but many of them has liked your presentation. So, so with that note, since there are no questions, thank you so much. We would quickly move on to the valedictory speech, and we would very shortly we will be providing you the YouTube the link for the feedback. So and that will be posted in the YouTube live channel, the live chat channel over there. So very quickly, you'll be getting that, dear participants. Now we will move on to the valedictory speech. The valedictory speech will be delivered by Dr. Choitali Mukherjee, who is Associate Professor in the Department of Bengali of our very own college, and she is the coordinator of the Internal Quality Assurance Cell, Derozio Memorial College. Over to you, Choitali Di.
Thank you, Mahuya. Am I audible?
Yes, absolutely.
Hello. Okay,
Absolutely.
thank you.
Yes.
Acha. Don't be restless, my dear friends. I'm not going to take much time. It's just a formality that I have to follow. So, may I start with that formality? A very good evening to the respected speakers from different esteemed institutions. Our Honorable Vice Chancellor, West Bengal State University, Dr. Bashop Choudhury sir, all distinguished participants and guests. Our Principal sir, Dr. Dibyendu Talapatro, my dear colleagues and students. As we have reached the final session of the two-day webinar on online education in new normal, coping with mental hazards, organized by Department of Education in collaboration with IQAC of Derozio Memorial College, I feel privileged to be a part of this very relevant discourse. The phase we are passing through has forced us to think of an alternative pattern of life to get out of this pandemic situation, both clinically and psychologically. As we know, our scientists all over the world are putting their best efforts to find out an antidote and protect the human race. But at the same time, we are under serious psychological distress arising out of this severe disease. A huge virtual world has been created to cope up with these circumstances. But people, especially children, are yet to get accustomed with this new process. The online teaching learning method, excluding physical contact with peers as well as teachers, are one of the acute mental hurdles they are facing. All our eminent speakers have covered every corner of this new normal education system, emphasizing on the mental health of students during their discourse. In addition, they correctly pointed out that the real impact is yet to come, though we hope that the new moon night will be over soon and our scientists' perseverance will bring some positive news sooner. On behalf of IQAC of Derozio Memorial College, I'm thankful to all participants for their enthusiastic support to our organizing committee. Your e-certificates will reach within a week or so through your email. My earnest gratitude to the entire organizing committee for their sincere effort to make the occasion a success. I thank you all once again. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Choitali. That was so precise, yes, yet so pertinent and to the point, and it was so relevant. Thank you so much. Now we would quickly move on to the vote of thanks. But before that, I'm sure that you have all received the link. So just fill it out and submit, and then you'll be getting your certificates, the much desired certificates that you are all waiting for. Now, may I request Dr. Anjana Chattopadhyay, Associate Professor, the Department of History and Joint Convener Seminar Program Committee. She happens to be our Teachers Council Secretary as well. So Dr. Anjana Chattopadhyay of Derozio Memorial College to deliver the vote of thanks. Over to you, Anjana.
Thank you, Mahuya. Good evening. Now we are in the concluding part of the webinar, and on behalf of Derozio Memorial College, I take the opportunity to propose the vote of thanks. We are grateful to our Honorable Vice Chancellor of West Bengal State University, Professor Bashop Choudhury, for his
Anjana,
yes.
Anjana, may I please intervene? Yes, can you please put your microphone closer to your mouth? Please put your microphone closer to your mouth. Yes.
Now I'm on.
Yes.
Okay. May I start from the beginning? No, it's okay.
Yes, please.
Okay. On behalf of Derozio Memorial College, I take the opportunity to propose the vote of thanks. We are grateful to our Honorable Vice Chancellor of West Bengal State University, Dr. Basud Choudhury, for his inspiring keynote address, which I think has left us enriched in various aspects. We are grateful to our respected President, Governing Body, and Deputy Mayor of Vizianagaram Municipal Corporation, Sri Taposh Chatterjee, for his great support and guidance to this institution. I would like to thank Dr. Kalapatra, Principal, Derozio Memorial College, for his enthusiasm, support, and encouragement, which goes a long way to boost up our confidence. I acknowledge the contributions of members of governing body in the smooth running of the webinar. I would like to thank Dr. Shailendra Mukherjee for her valedictory speech and her support as the coordinator of IQAC and the financial support provided by IQAC. I would like to thank our distinguished speaker, Dr. Shailendra Singh, Assistant Professor, Gopal Chandra Memorial College of Education, WPU TPECA, Kolkata, Dr. Amulya Kumar Acharya, Associate Professor and Head, Department of Education, Koki Mohan University, Bhubaneswar, Odisha, Dr. Prem Heeralal, Department of Psychology of Education, University of South Africa, Dr. Shanta Misra, former Principal, Sri Sattya College for Women, Utkal University, Visiting Professor, International Institute of Rehabilitation Science and Research, Bhubaneswar, Odisha, and Dr. Nondita Devi, Assistant Professor and Head, Department of Education, Shishuram College, Shishuram CU, Kolkata, for their wonderful discourse, which definitely has broadened our spectrum of knowledge. We have a large number of registered participants from all over the world, such as USA, Philippines, Lebanon, Egypt, Romania, Nigeria, Nepal, and Pakistan. And from India, we have participants from Mizoram, Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan, Tripura, Assam, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Odisha, and Bihar. We are indebted and thankful to the participants flocking from India and abroad, without whom this webinar would have been meaningless. Your participation has increased our zeal, and we look forward to your participation in our future endeavors. I would like to acknowledge the contribution of Dr. Misra, our librarian, as technical coordinator, and Sri Odisha Banerjee of the Department of English as a technical assistant, and without their help, it would not have been possible to organize this international meet. I convey my heartfelt thanks to Dr. Bhaumik, Head of the Department of English, for her role as the moderator in the webinar, which she carried out very skillfully. I would like to mention the name of Sri Anirban Joshi Roy Choudhury and his entire team of journalism and mass communication and Department of Film Studies for his creative ideas, which you have visualized in the brochure and in the certificate which you will receive later on. I would like to thank the organizing secretaries, Sri Devashi Chatterjee, Sri Subarna Ghosh of the Department of Education, for organizing this very informative international webinar. I would like to thank Dr. Shilpak Mondal of the Department of Bengali and Joint Convener of Seminar Program Committee for his valuable advice from time to time. Besides, I would like to mention the name of faculty members of Education Department, Srimati Reena Dash, Srimati Manimala Bhattacharya, and Barnali Dash, who had helped in all possible ways. We are grateful to all faculty members of different departments of our college for their unified approach in making the webinar a success. We cannot forget the contribution of non-teaching staff for their constant support in all our activities. We thank the members of Students' Union for their active role in all our activities. Last but not least, we are indeed happy to have the students of the Education Department for their active participation. We are grateful to Google Incorporation for allowing us to use their products and services like YouTube, Gmail, free of cost, and other software for this webinar. To conclude, we convey our thanks in advance to those viewers who will take a look to this webinar on YouTube in future. Before we depart, I wish that all of you have enriched yourself from the webinar, and we look forward to your participation and cooperation in future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anjana. You have thanked each and everybody who is associated with the webinar. So it's time that I thank you. Thank you for the vote of thanks. And finally, a big thank you to all the participants, each and every one of you who have come, from various parts of the globe, as it were. I mean, from various countries, various nations. So thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts and on behalf of the entire college, not only the Department of Education, but on behalf of the entire college, that is Derozio Memorial College. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to all of you. Hope to get engaged with you in such academic endeavors in recent future as well. And I would request all of you to please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you very much. And in that YouTube channel, you will be able to view various kind of academic, inputs and the programs that we promote at regular intervals. So thanks once again. Stay safe during this, pandemic situation, and hope to see you again very soon in some other academic forum. So thank you and lots of love, best wishes, warm regards. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Your presence meant a lot. Thank you. Okay, sir. Bye-bye.
Bye.